Alright everyone, we start off today with more of the Trump v. Desantis thing. Of course we'll be talking about the indictment circus and stuff, although another day goes by, no indictment. That's day number 2 that they've predicted that Trump is going to be dragged away in irons by his orange greasy hair, squealing like a piggy and pooping his pants, and he will be fingerprinted and mugshot and booked just like anyone else. We're gonna cut Orange Man down to size. Well, it didn't happen. I haven't heard any real updates there. I have no clue what's going on. The Liberals did indeed blow their load too early. Now, they've got a massive case of blue balls, which is why they're coping and seething constantly on Twitter. It's hard to understand, though, what Ron DeSantis is actually doing right now. Based on his initial response to the Trump indictment circus the other day, that was a strategic blunder, a fairly big one. He blundered his way through then an interview with Piers Morgan here. Link in the description, archived of course. You can check out the write-up to it yourself. When asked really about the ability to beat Trump, Ron DeSantis all but ignores the elephant in the room, which is, hey, you're 15 points behind and you're beginning to alienate core populist voters, which were overwhelmingly on board with you until recently. If you had stood aside and just shrugged your shoulders when you were insulted by Trump, you'd have a good chance right now, because again, the God Emperor side of Trump voters is depleted. It's smaller, but they exist. And you need them for what? The general election. So when DeSantis ignores that elephant in the room and starts talking about how he can beat Beijing Biden, I don't deny that. I think that Trump, DeSantis, there are others, Rand Paul would beat him, and Biden may not even be the nominee. He might not seek, he might die before then. The dude's 81 years old. He's got health issues. You don't even know that it'll be Biden you're going up against. It could be easier than beating Biden. Maybe Kamala asserts her technical incumbency, beats out a sparse field, and you end up running against someone even weaker than Biden. That would be good for whoever the Republican nominee is. Here's the problem. It goes to the same thing that I said the other day. Trading barbs with Trump is fine. His initial indictment saga response, though, was too late. It was too little. It was too vacuous, too lawyer-speaky. It didn't sound, it wasn't the kind of energized, organic sloganeering that typically you would get from a politician, and it shows a remarkable lack of strategic competence. Because you made that mistake in a situation in which you could have very easily, in 5 or 6 sentences, you could have asserted your supremacy over Trump by invoking the fact that, hey, remember, I'm the governor here of Florida, and Donald Trump happens to be a resident of Ron's state, and I will shield him if I can. I will be paying close attention to the situation. I will protect every Floridian. I want to protect every American. Be a good populistic dovetail from this kind of excessive overreach, which is clearly politically motivated. He effectively touches on the latter part, but only in a roundabout way, and he completely ignores all of the other wonderful scoring lines he could have made. There were times in 2016 and 2020 when I castigated Donald Trump, you'll remember, for similar easy victories that he overlooked. But he was already there. In 2016, he had already become the front runner. It was obvious what was going to happen. He did score most of the points he needed against Clinton. In 2020, he had the incumbency. He was a shoo-in there, so the primary didn't matter like it does now with technically no incumbent. Ron DeSantis, though, before even getting into the race, he has not announced yet, 2 months out from that roughly, assuming that he decides to run, and we're not 100% sure, he has already made a series of calculated errors, ignoring the question that you've been asked, and attempting to ignore the fact that Trump exists in order to fixate on the ability to beat Biden is not going to sway any voters, because many of them are convinced that Trump would beat him too. And many of them don't even care about the electability side so much as the quality of the candidate side. They are already leaning towards Trump. Every poll has made that clear. The aggregate, again, 15 points or thereabouts, is a fairly stable lead for Donald Trump. He's close to clinching already because he's close to that 50% mark, even when he's matched up against 6 or 7 other people, most of which I don't think will be running at all. Why is Ted Cruz or Marco Rubio, why are they even in the fucking polls? Doesn't even make sense. They should just poll among the people that have announced. So Trump, you can throw DeSantis in because it's presumptive, and I guess possibly Pompeo, and then Haley and Ramaswamy. Well, that's your field right now. You might get Pence getting in. By the way, DeSantis would shit himself if Pence gets in because he'd water down the Trump derangement syndrome vote. Here's the problem. Looking forward to the 24 election, whether it's against Biden or whatever, because there will be honk-honk going on, you need a great deal of strategic sense to overcome that. You're going to have to take the Ring of Sauron and do mail-in ballot harvesting. You're going to have to do a lot more grassroots shit at the local and state level to get people organized, registered, and fired up. You're going to need a lot more of the campaign proxy and online stuff. DeSantis also lacks that. He does not have nearly as much of a footprint as Trump, although to be clear, Trump right now is not using that footprint appropriately. He got back on Facebook. Wow. That'll really help you with the over 65 vote that you've already largely sewn up, Donald, but most of us don't use Facebook anymore. I have a Facebook page because I happen to have a brand, Sticks, Hex, and Hammer, and I wanted to make sure people knew that there was an official page so that nobody else could rip it off and pretend to be me or something like that. That's the only reason my Facebook account even exists. I'm not going to use that shit. Instagram, maybe. He's been let back on there. I don't think he's using the Insta side of the metaverse, which in and of itself, VR related, has basically collapsed into nothingness. Empty worlds with kids on their parents' accounts asking you if you like poo-poo. Literally part of a write-up that I read a few days ago. It was hilarious. Go back to that video, by the way, and read it if you haven't. Here's the problem. When you ignore Trump, when you are poor with choosing your timing, when you have several impediments, again, a lower core audience, a lower impact online, etc., that's a problem. If you're going forward, therefore, you need a lot of strategic sense. Now, Trump has already won once, honk honk. I know that he can. Potentially, it's possible for him to win. Also, I would like to address one of the Black Pillars claims. A lot of the DeSantis simps, and some of them are simps. I don't say that about most of his fans, but there are a few that are being particularly pernicious and disingenuous at this point. There are some Trump fans that do the same, you will see. And certainly Kamala fans. Oh boy, Elizabeth Warren's, I think, are the worst of all, though. Somehow she eclipsed fucking Hillary Clinton's core fan base of pink pussy hat wearers. Here's the other thing. When you talk about the great black pilling, well, Trump can't win because they'll just stop him again. If you believe that, then you have to believe that by extension about any candidate that would actually be worth voting for. So if DeSantis really is a populistic maverick, he would be treated the same way. They would pull the same stunts that they honk totally haven't before, and the election would be fortified. It would be totally fair and above board, and everything would be perfect. Every other election in the world, there are constant irregularities, but those particular elections, the result, you can take it to the bank. It's ironclad. Why would they not do the same thing for somebody else who was effectively a populistic maverick? The whole point is to stop populism. There are a bunch of uniparty globalists that want to continue the downward spiral of neoliberal globalist policies, a la Klaus Schwab and Bill Gates and all the others. Why would they not do the same thing to DeSantis? Why would the outcome be any different? If you're that black-pilled, then there's no point in backing DeSantis. There's really no point in backing anyone. I choose not to be black-pilled. I choose to be a bit more optimistic. Call me naive if you want. I know some people do. But I mean, Ron DeSantis is getting down in the dirt into the grudge match realm, which is not a good look. I mean, if you're going to cast yourself off, he's talking here, for example, probably the most stark example right in this article. He's saying that Trump's chaotic governing style is a big problem, and yet you're backhanding him pertinent to a major legal case that could overturn 2 centuries of precedent, in which you showed great strategic incompetence. I don't necessarily dislike Ron DeSantis. I just think that he's making a series of calculated errors here, and I wonder how many errors of that kind would you be able to make in the general election and have any hope of winning? Well, supposedly there's going to be honking and black pilling, and the liberals will do this, that, and the other thing to stop you, assuming that they haven't unipartied you up and compromised you already. By the way, it is not true that DeSantis is run by Jeb Bush. It is true that the Bushes have said good things about him, which could be a poison pill when you think about it. The Bushes might be done with the GOP, convinced that Trump will lose, and so they just want to poison pill. They want to poison the well with Ron DeSantis because they think he's more electable. Jeb Bush is not necessarily the greatest strategy either, so I think that's a plausible explanation there for what we're seeing. That's about all. Peace out.